Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. The CNN turnaround continues as new CEO Chris Litch, CNN's new head honcho, continues to lead the charge. And I have to admit, friends, I like this guy. I like this guy a lot. I mean, talk about an upgrade. To go from whatever the frig Jeff Zucker was, to now this guy, it's a big sign that things are a-changing, and things are a-changing quick. To go from Jack Dorsey, Vijaya Gadde, and the rest of these Twitter goons to Elon Musk, and from Jeff Zucker to Chris Litch at CNN, the landscape of the media and social media is changing fast, and of course, liberal heads are imploding worldwide as they continue to lose power and lose their grasp over the mainstream media and over the flow of information. And what happens when lefties are losing their minds? Well, like usual, they all form into one collective structure, into one giant viscous blob and ooze, screeching and screaming and launching vicious attacks. Chris Litch, of course, has been the target of said attacks, but similarly to Elon, he's not taking any of it as he takes on the collective leftist mob and essentially tells them to take a hike, blasting the Blue Anon woke mind virus Twitter mob in a new public statement, which gives you a good idea as to where CNN's headed. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, take a look at this. CNN boss Chris Litch slams left-wing, uninformed critics, attacking him for making the network less partisan after he fired hundreds of anchors and staff. CNN head honcho Chris Litch has responded to criticism that he's receiving from his move to make the network's historically progressive coverage less partisan, slamming the backlash as uninformed vitriol. Honestly, if you think about it, uninformed vitriol essentially sums up the leftist mentality, or the theme of leftist rhetoric over the last however many years. In an interview on Sunday, the network's chief executive addressed responses to his approach around featured voices on the network, since being tapped to replace ousted predecessor Jeff Zucker last February. That strategy has since seen a series of sweeping changes enacted by Litch, who has pushed hosts like Don Lemon and Jim Acosta away from opinionated reporting that became especially prevalent during Donald Trump's campaign and presidency. Seeking to the station's roots as a hard-hitting news source, Litch over the past 8 months has revamped the newsroom with a series of hirings, firings, and on-air shuffles, which has seen him condemned by left-wingers such as ex-colleague Keith Olbermann and gun activist Sharon Watts. You know, these two characters, who are pretty much the epitome of out-of-their-mind left-wing Blue Anon Twitter lunatics. Speaking to the New York Post, Litch, who fully took control of the cable network in May, slammed the criticism that he's faced, especially from the left, as stunning. He said, "The uninformed vitriol, especially from the left, has been stunning." Litch added of the backlash that he's faced for replacing progressives like Lemon and Cuomo with more centrist figures, as well as hires like Stephen Gutowski, founder and editor of firearms website The Reload, proves my point. So much of what passes for news is name-calling, half-truths, and desperation. Litch seemed to be responding to the recent criticism following hires like Gutowski by figures such as Watts, the founder of Moms Demand Action, a grassroots organization dedicated to implementing increased public safety measures to quell gun violence, especially in schools. And what they mean to say, or probably what they should have said there, is people like Shannon Watts, leftist authoritarians who want to take away your right as a law-abiding citizen to own a firearm. Oh, and by the way, speaking of gun grabbing, a little bit off topic, but if you guys are paying attention, I'm sure the media has tried their best to shove it under a rug. Recently, I believe in Toronto, Canada, there was a mass shooting in an apartment or condo building. It seems as though gun control doesn't work exactly as these activists make it seem, especially when you look at mass shootings on a per capita basis, but let's move on. Ex-CNN staffer Keith Olbermann, along with several others, have vocalized their disapproval with Litch, going as far to label him as a TV fascist after his plans to overhaul the struggling network. I don't know who wrote this article, but this is terrible. I'm having to edit it on the fly. Have been vocal disapproval with Litch. That's not English. Anyways, I keep getting distracted. Let's move on. During his interview with The Times, Litch, who also made waves when he canceled Brian Stelter's Reliable Sources amid his attempt to tone down any displays of partisanship by on-air talent, asserted that his mission is to offer a viable information outlet to both conservatives and liberals with his various maneuvers. No one wants a school shooting, Litch said, but we have to understand the culture of people who like guns, he added. This is not vanilla, centrist, or boring. The comments echoed those made by Litch to the Financial Times in November when he proclaimed that one of the biggest misconceptions about my vision is that I want to be vanilla, that I want to be a centrist. That is BS. You have to be compelling, you have to have an edge. In many cases, you take a side. Sometimes you just point out uncomfortable questions, he added. But either way, you don't see it through a lens of left or right. Litch has repeatedly said that his plans for on-air talent at the network are for them to offer a rational conversation about polarizing issues and a version of news dedicated to basing polarizing figures such as Trump 24/7. And so the article goes on, and Chris Litch then speaks about the whole breaking news thing, how CNN operates under this model that everything is breaking news and the world is always ending, the sky is falling, democracy is under constant threat, a new threat to democracy every single day it seems. And he wants to move the network away from hyperbole and constant leftist fear-mongering. And this is a big, significant change. You know, along with everything that's going on with Twitter, this is a major step forward. I mean, think about the implication when it comes to elections. Think about the power that Democrats have lost in 2022. Of course, the election itself wasn't great, and we'll have to see what happens in 2024, but moving forward, the landscape is finally changing. CNN played a major role in going after Donald Trump. The nonstop partisan breaking nonsense, in the end, was actually impactful. The constant demonization, the doomsaying, and the fear-mongering as if Donald Trump was going to destroy civilization as we know it. Well, Jeff Zucker's CNN at the time was very much behind that narrative. They were a key component in promoting all the fake news stories to destroy Donald Trump's reputation. They were the ones running 24/7 coverage of the Russia collusion nonsense, the Stormy Daniels garbage, and every other disproved hoax supposedly involving the former president. Well, no longer is that going to be the case. At least based on what we're hearing from Chris Litch so far. And if we couple that with the left's major loss at Twitter, I mean basically losing their platform, losing control over political speech, and probably best of all, the FBI losing control over political speech, and the flow of news stories and information on the platform, well, that's a real hit to the leftist election arsenal. The simple fact of the matter is what's going on here is good. There's finally a counteracting force to leftist cultural power, and we're seeing incredibly powerful individuals like Elon Musk and Chris Litch standing up to the leftist mob. Elon essentially waging war against the woke mind virus, and Chris Litch explicitly calling out the leftist mob and their quote uninformed vitriol, not taking a cowardly middle ground stance of both sidism. Well, both sides are bad, okay? No, he is explicitly saying the left-wing mob has completely lost control. They're out of their minds. He's essentially calling them lunatics in their response to what's going on at CNN. Typical leftist response when they lose cultural power. But as we know and as we've covered, when the left is lashing out in anger, it's generally a good thing. It generally means that they're losing power or that they're nervous and desperation is kicking in. And certainly with the loss of editorial control at CNN, with Chris Cillizza no longer there, and with all their primetime network hosts gone, and with the loss of Twitter, the mass implosion of leftist minds certainly makes sense and tells us exactly what we want to hear, that we're starting to see an evening out, at least a little bit, not even close to even yet, but it's happening a little bit slowly when it comes to power in the cultural sphere. And that's a good thing because we know concentrated power never leads to anything good. Thankfully enough, we're finally seeing some checks and balances. That's what I got for you guys in this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel if you guys are up for it. I'm gonna get out of here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.